Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome you and thank you for joining us on 9 a.m.'s webinar, part of the Freelance Academy series. Our topic today is mastering your money mindset. Before we start, actually, my name is Gergana and I'm an event manager at 9 a.m. and Code Control. And today I will be hosting this webinar. 9 a.m. is a platform for freelancers where we're aiming to make your lives easier. You can find exciting projects, manage all your project requests in one place and keep your profile up to date easily. If you want to learn more, of course, you can check out 9am.works. Today, our speaker will answer the question why you should up your rates. You will learn more about how to develop your confidence in approaching money conversations and identify steps you can take to earn the rate you want. If this sounds good to you, I encourage you to ask questions in the Q&A section or in the chat below. And of course, at any time, and our speaker will answer them at the end of her presentation. Helen Hill is featured on the 2021 Top 40 Digital Woman to Watch list and is an award winner for her contributions to the industry journal Communicator. Her book is currently on the shortlist for the Business Book Awards 2022. Helen Hill is a business owner, author, freelance business coach, designer, writer, podcaster, and imperfect environmentalist. Helen, the digital stage is fully yours. I will just switch on your video and you are good to go.
Hello. Hi, everybody. I'll just share my screen with you. In fact, just 1 second. Get that started. And I think we want this one. Hopefully. Can you see that? Okay. Big pink screen.
Yes.
Yeah. Fabulous. Right. So yes, welcome today. So as she said, we are talking about mastering your money mindset today, because obviously this is a big topic for freelancers. It's a debate we have all the time and ask advice for each other. And it's something that I've seen quite a lot in the communities I'm in. So it's some training that I've been putting together and starting to deliver quite a bit. So just to introduce myself a bit more first. Oh, why is it not moving on? Let's have a look. Ooh, there we go. So yeah, as we said, I'm a multi-hyphen business owner. Basically, I love variety and I have my fingers in many areas. So my main business is Untitled Genius, which is a learning and content design business. It originally started as a graphic design business, which was what I've got my degree and master's in. And I had it on the side for 10 years. So on the side of employment before I had quite a bit of experience in a business and launched myself furiously into self-employment. And from that has come Falling Off the Ladder, the book, which has now turned into my coaching and courses and my whole community part. And I co-founded Be the Future, which is an environmental initiative about helping families to become more eco-friendly, but in easy ways, taking out the overwhelm, taking out all the doom and gloom statistics, and we do it through storytelling and humour and fun. So I co-found that with Sally, who lives in Sydney. So it's a bit of a pet side project, and you will hear a bit more about that actually in a moment. But yeah, that's me. So let's take a look at this. So first up, why change your money mindset? So as I've said, it is a hot topic all the time, and it's a really difficult one because it is part of freelance life and it kind of can feel like a game, but it's one we don't get a rule book for. So there's some, questions there. Are you always knocking your rates down? Do you spend ages trying to guess your client's budget and what they might be able to afford? Or comparing yourself with what you think other freelancers are earning? Do you feel you'll lose your clients if you up your rates? Pop a Y in the chat if you've been guilty of any of these, or even, 1 to 5, how many of these have you been guilty of? That getting the post pressing send quote for you is a big one. That when you finally procrastinated and put your quote together and you hit send, It can be terrifying, and you sit there thinking, oh, what if it was too much? What if it was too little? Maybe I should have upped it. And when they come back and say yes, you think, oh yeah, I should have upped it. So what we're looking today is how to stop these questions constantly appearing in your mind and make you feel more confident in talking money. And like, as I say, it's one of the most difficult aspects, and there's no exact amount that you should be charging. We don't have like a ladder you climb anymore, or, you know, sometimes in jobs you climb up certain bands of salary. We don't have anything like that anymore. So it's all down to us. There's no rule book. So we've got to start thinking about our own needs. Because if you look at these questions, there's a couple of things that are really clear. One is the amount of time that sucks from your day. So, you know, all of these are things where you're spending time procrastinating and thinking about other things rather than just putting your quote in, leaving it to the client and getting on with your next task. And also, if you look at them as well, they're all about the other person. It's not thinking about you and what you want to charge. We're always people pleasing and worrying about, you know, keeping those clients on our books or bringing them in and them not going off to competition. So if there's two things that really help us, it will bring you back some time, and time is precious to us all. If you get a lot of that time back that you spend second guessing, procrastinating, it gives you more time to get your work done. It means that you can, and if you up your rates, you can do the same amount of earn more money for less hours. You might be able to drop your hours, or you can use extra time to bring in more work, and that then increases your budget. Or as I did, I upped my rates with my learning and content design work, and that's given me freedom now to take 2 days to develop other pursuits like the business coaching and Be the Future. So it can give you a lot if you really start looking at upping those rates. The second point there, the refocus, again, that's about bringing it back to you. It's making you focus your goals on you, not someone else's priorities. And it gives you a bigger purpose. And a big part of this is living by your definition of wealth. So what does wealth mean to you? What does money mean to you? Not to somebody else. And this is a key thing that I talk about in lots of aspects of business, things like defining your own success, defining your own growth, defining your own wealth is another thing. What wealth means to me would be very different to someone else, and what money can give me would be very different to you. So a big thing for me is I love traveling, and by upping my rate, and I get more time, so that's the first one, to go on these holidays, and I have more money and flexibility to do that. So like, I've booked a huge trip to Costa Rica, so excited. That has been my dream for a long time. My business has finally given me the ability to do that for my 40th birthday next year. I know, don't look 40. I do certainly feel it. So second of all, right now, it helps you understand where you are right now. So I fundamentally believe that in all areas of your business, you need to understand where you are right now. What are you earning? Where could you be making more? Where is the potential for you to grow? And you need to do that before you can move on to that next step. So if we start to look at that internal monologue, we can start to look at you and where you are right now, not anybody else, not your other freelancers in your network, and what is important for you to move on. And once you've done that, then you can take the intentional action. So this is about making sure that you're taking the forward steps that are right for you again. So it's looking at where you are now and where you want to be and what is going to get you there. So we always talk about the small steps in the middle, the progression, and how you can move forward. And I must say, I was a massive fan of winging it for the first 2 years in my business. I went with the flow. I took a lot just off gut instinct, which, to be honest, gut instinct is a good thing to go with sometimes. But I've now got to the point where to grow, I need to be more intentional in my actions, and I need to have goals. Now, I don't set them rigidly. I'm not someone that will say, I want to do X, Y, Z, and will only focus on that. If something else comes up in the meanwhile, I've got the flexibility to pursue that. And that's what happened with Be the Future and the coaching. So I didn't just rigidly think, I'm a learning designer now and I want to get to this place in the industry, and I just set myself on that track. Other things came up that actually really lit my fire. So, you know, just having the flexibility there with your action as well. Also, it will give you the feel good factor. So what, you know, instead of feeling that you're doing a job where you're thinking, oh, I should be getting paid more for this. Why did I take this job on? I'm really not enjoying this. It gives you a bit more feel good factor going into the job. So you are not starting immediately resentful because somebody's knocked your rate down and somebody's made you barter all the way down to what's the minimum you feel comfortable with. So that feel good factor cannot be underestimated. It leads to much more positive relationships. And finally, people talk about balance in your business. I talk about space, because I do think, particularly for me, having so many businesses and things, balance is just all over the place. It's not something I will ever achieve, and it was an unachievable goal for me. So I talk about having the space to do the things I want to do. Like I say, that was taking on the coaching, that was taking on Be the Future for me. For you, it might be more family time. It might be that you want to develop your passive income stream. There might all kinds of things. But if you up your rate and you can earn that rate for doing less work, then it gives you the space to do whatever it is you want to do, or have that holiday. Holidays are great. And above all else, it raises rates across our industry because freelancers can be very undervalued. That free in freelance does mislead some people to think that it means cheap or that the quality is not there. And we know different. We know the quality is definitely there and we deserve to be paid for it. So, I have to keep clicking twice to get it to move on. Just as an example of what I was saying there, these are two comments I saw yesterday, funnily enough, from two freelancers in my network who were talking about money. And one said, I have an ambitious but realistic amount of money I want to make, but after that, freedom is my priority. And that's from Tom, who he loves the outdoors. And for him, the freedom is being allowed to drop his tools and go out on a walk up a mountain somewhere. And, you know, that's not my idea of freedom, but that's his. And that's what he wants to achieve. And then Penny's response was absolutely the same. My aim is to be able to take a good chunk of time off and do something awesome. She's in a band and she's amazing at the guitars and the vocals, and so she spends a lot of time doing the music and things as well. So you can see that the value is not just about money. I upped my rates for another reason, was so that I could finish the book. So I had written the book mostly in the evenings in some writing accountability groups. And when it got to the summer, I had 2 projects that were put back. And I decided to take the time off to finish the book, to edit it and to get it out. And it just gave me that headspace. Instead of having to write on the book in little pieces, to focus on it purely for 2 months. And the book was so much better for it. So upping my rates made me comfortable enough to say, that's all right, I can take 2 months of not really earning much and I will put my focus there. There's all the fact of, you know, running 3 businesses at a time is not easy, but it is possible. So being employed is about more than just getting the clients in and doing the work. Your mindset matters. It guides everything from the boundaries you put up to the way you interact with people, how you deal with difficult clients, the time off you take, and money is a part of that. And it is wrapped up in a lot of that as well. Ever since school, we're told how to behave. And we're told what progression should look like. We're told what your career should look like and what the next step is. When you go solo, you lose that. You become the one in control. So it's something that we have to embrace in really looking at that control and what we can do to make that work for us. And it is about you taking control of your business rather than your business controlling you or outside factors controlling you. And that was a big learning curve for me. So many of our experiences and our beliefs are formed in childhood, and this is something we're going to come on to in a moment. Because we don't often realise this. And there's also a massive divide with us ladies. We often undercharge. We are even bigger people pleasers than the men. I mean, there's something that went round a while back about if a woman looks at a job description and she doesn't hit all the criteria, she doesn't apply. If a man looks at it and they hit 2 out of the 10, they'll apply and they think they're getting it. And that's so true. Us women can really push ourselves down. So it's about looking at things like that as well with your confidence when it approaches money. Is it also a gender or a generational thing and outside influences? So just a question for you, if people are here and willing to, you don't have to respond to this, but who sets a money goal for their business? Put a Y in the chat if you do, okay? Because it's really interesting how many people do and how many don't. So it may interest you to know, given that I'm talking about money, that I don't. I do not set a goal of I want to earn X amount. And this workshop is not about becoming a six-figure entrepreneur and stuff. I do not like that mentality. And the reason for this is, for me, as I explained earlier, upping my rates is about giving me the space and freedom to do other things and to do the things I value and push myself towards other goals. Money is a tool for me to reach other goals. It's an energy. And quite a lot of people talk about money as energy. And I do believe that if you get other areas of your business right, and if you're passionate about what you do and you have values and you're doing something really different, that the money will come. And I have seen that in my business. You know, I've really been passionate. I've pushed myself for new things and the money has come as a result. I never set myself a goal. At the end of the day, I went freelance just to get out of a toxic work environment that I didn't want to be in. And so that happiness has always been my goal, and finding, you know, I finally found where I belonged. So you don't have to set a money goal. You might want a vague one, or you might, as I've always thought, just maybe achieve more than your last year. I've never set a specific amount, but yeah, if it just keeps increasing, that's good for me. So it's just worth thinking about, what is your actual goal? And again, this is something we'll come to in a minute. But by focusing purely on money, I do think it means that you remove the focus of what you do and who you serve and why. And that is something that is incredibly powerful in your messaging and things. So I do think it's better to reach for something else rather than, oh, I've had a 5-figure month, I've had a 6-figure year, or whatever it is. So how do it? I'm not clicking on that thing again. How do we do it? So what I've done is I've got 5 areas. Oh, this little cool dude. 5 areas that are key to work on. So expectations is the first one. As with most things, there's 3 things you need to establish before you're going to run with making changes. 1 is where you are right now, so I've mentioned that, and 2 is where you want to be. So, you know, maybe write down right now, where do you want to be? It can be a monetary value, but also then if you do write a monetary value down, why? What is that going to give you? What is that going to do for your business? Think about that bigger scale of it, and not just what it will it do for your business, what will it do for you and your family? Will it give you more time with them? Will it give you those holidays you want to take your child on? Whatever it might be. Having that emotional attachment to something at the end is quite good. There is a caveat with this, which we'll come to in a moment, but yeah, having something that you really want to strive for, and this is why people create things like vision boards. It can be really good as a visual for you to then make steps towards it, rather than this arbitrary number that you pull out of thin air or that doesn't really mean anything. Attach something to it. And then you need to look at the in-between steps you need to get there. So again, you're looking at that more emotional goal and the value that you've assigned to it, and what will it take for you to achieve that, not the money, because the money will come if you go for the other thing. Okay. So I feel like I've whizzed through that one, but oh yeah, and just something to add on that. Also, you need to look at whether, you know, consider whether you're looking at it as a daily goal, a daily rate. You know, you might want to up your daily rate, or is it a yearly goal, a monthly goal? Those can all affect how you make those next steps to it as well. And it's likely to need to be something part of a much bigger plan. So really think about what that success looks like to you and your personal requirements, not somebody else's. Second of all, money blocks. So this breaks down into beliefs and influences, attitude, and others, meaning other people around you. So beliefs and influences is about the past experiences that are now influencing the way you feel about money. So what experiences did you have with money as a child? What were you told about money? Did you grow up being told things like money doesn't grow on trees? That gets in your mindset straight away as a child. Have you learned behaviours from your parents? Can you see a reflection in the way your parents deal with money to how you do? Like, there's a huge difference between myself and my partner. My family were much more kind of you know, they did save, but they also spent. That, you know, we would go on these great holidays and they're very, you know, generous with their money. My partner's very much save everything, and he's taking that mentality on. So it's a really interesting dynamic in our house now because we're both totally different. Also, there's things like when I was younger, my dad said to me, you can bring any bloke home, but not a salesman. Now, he was a salesman, so it's not just that he's judging like other people, but that got in my head. And for years, I never trusted salespeople. I didn't like sales. I still don't like it to an extent in the business. But that really embedded in my brain as a sort of 16-year-old. And, you know, it's been really interesting to reflect on the stuff that's come from that. So when you start to identify these, you can start to challenge them and you can start to reframe the thought to something else. Because as well, you don't want to then pass them on to your children if you've got them. You know, I feel life's for living, and I've got that from my parents. So the other thing is, if you've seen your parents work very, very hard for their money when you were younger, you can grow up with that thing of, I've got to work really hard. I've really got to grind to get the money. So life can be easier, and there's other families might have the opposite, where that, you know, money seemingly come very easy. So look at those past experiences and influences, because these become your limiting beliefs. These are the things that stop you pursuing the money you want. Attitude is about your attitude to money, wealth and abundance. So when you see a rich person, what do you think? What is that internal monologue? Do you think they're selfish? Do you think you know, it's not fair that they've got that amount of money? These feelings that you project onto other people will also reflect in how you feel about you getting more money. So you might worry about upping your rates because you think wealthy people are selfish and you don't want to become that person. So really trying, especially when you look at things like media with celebrities and things like that, and, you know, Abramovich with his billion-pound yachts and things like that, really try and just catch and reflect those thoughts that come up in your mind and have a see where that might be limiting your behaviours. And then others, that's about the people that are around you. So like I say, other freelancers will be a key thing, where you're saying things like, well, I can't charge more than her, she's got more experience, they've been freelancing. But what you've got to remember is, we often share ideas about rates, but when someone says, oh, well, I charge X amount, that's based on their beliefs, their behaviours, their experience and their skills. You are a different person. So by all means, use that as a starting point, but it does not mean you can't up it. And it doesn't mean that they shouldn't be upping it. Yeah. So yes, you can always have the conversation and get an idea of what's the norm in the industry, but really try and separate yourself from what other people charge. You know, for every freelancer that thinks something's an outlandish rate, there'll be somebody else that thinks that, you know, they'll be charging twice that amount. So it's, yeah, try and detach yourself from other people's. Let's just have a look. Ooh. So I'm sure a lot of you have seen Jerry Maguire. Well, I'm not saying be him and scream, show me the money to your clients. Money behaviours is a big thing. So these are the conscious and unconscious behaviours we have. So when a client starts talking to you about money, do you look away or look down? Do you start fiddling with your hair? That's my one. Do you start stuttering or go really quiet or say and debate a lot and look really unsure about what you're doing? These are sabotaging behaviours, because your client will quickly pick up that you're not confident in what you're saying and that maybe they could barter you down to a lower rate. So really try and think about those little actions that you take that could really be influencing that kind of dynamic when you're talking about money. And also apologising. I would say never apologise for your rate. State it, and if they don't like it, they can, you know, you can have a conversation about it, but never say, I'm sorry. Your rate is your rate. Manifesting can be a bit woo for some people, but I've actually started almost pretty much believing in it. Like I say, I really think that if you've got this end vision, this end goal, that you start unconsciously taking steps towards it, subconsciously even, and that stuff does then come. So like, I've wanted to do more speaking events and features and things like that, and I've taken small steps to get there, and suddenly people are coming to me rather than me going to them. And the same happened with clients. So really start thinking about what messages you're putting out, because it does make a difference. If you are looking very closed and very shy and very, very closed off to opportunities, they're not going to come to you. So even if you don't believe in manifesting, just have a think about the signals you're putting out to the world, to your clients, to your audiences, and what that might be saying about you. Obviously, this whole thing is about confidence, but it is a behaviour in itself. And the key thing here is to understand how your confidence or lack of it affects those things I've just mentioned. So it's to do with how your nerves and you feeling sick to your stomach will affect your body language, your verbal signs, and also what it tells you in your own head about not being worthy. Is it telling that there's no way you should be charging such and such a rate, and that you will never achieve this financial goal that you've set? And don't forget there's different types of confidence. It doesn't necessarily mean screaming, show me the money. You can have quiet confidence. You can be reserved, but still be assertive in what you're saying or in how you write your emails and your quotes. And never be afraid to say, can I think about this, and put a proper quote together and email at you later in the day. That gives you that thinking time and that time to just prepare yourself and make sure you've got everything in that quote, rather than having to shout out a number on the phone and and just deal with what happens. So thinking about that and your language and your reframing, stop talking about what am I worth. Don't attach your self-worth as a human to what you're charging your clients. And that was a big learning point for me when I realized that. And there was actually this quote here on this slide: charge your worth doesn't mean your worth as a human. No one can afford that. Calm down. So that's Laura Belgrave talking shrimp, who's a copywriter. And I love that. That's pretty much on my, like, everything that I, it's around everywhere on my computer and things like that, just to remind me that I'm not charging for my worth as a human, because nobody can afford that. They're just paying for my services. They're paying for the transformation I can offer them. So, I've actually jumped on there. So value. A lot of your confidence will come from making clear what value you can offer other people. So this is about people seeing on your social media and in your communications that you know your stuff, that you can offer transformation to them. So through things like testimonials, through writing for industry journals, all those kind of things, they can show someone else that you are worth your rate. I have had a customer before now come to me off LinkedIn. He'd apparently been watching me for ages, even though he hadn't engaged with me. He sent me a message. We had a call. He asked for my rate. I knocked it up by 100 quid for my day rate. And he said, I don't normally pay that amount, but I know you're worth it. And it was because he'd been watching the various things that I've been putting out on LinkedIn. So like I say, that's all that manifesting stuff as well, of put things out and it will come back. And that links to the intentional action and the positive behaviours. So are you taking steps towards your goal, or are you sitting back and waiting for it to come to you? If you don't take those intentional steps, even just small ones, one at a time, build a bit of momentum, then it's not going to come to you. We cannot sit back as freelancers and expect things to come to us. I'm sure you don't, but it's worth thinking about that around money, not just getting work in, but your actual rates and your money. How can you take intentional steps to raising your rates? And again, those negative thoughts about wealth and abundance come in there. And make sure you're reflecting every step of the way. What worked? What didn't work? How did a client respond? Did one come back and accept your quote straight away and you could have put it up again? All these things are worth logging and reflecting on, and also your reactions and your behaviours and what you think you might need to change. Do that at every step of the way. Finally, I know we're pretty much coming to time. Conversations, it's hard. And I don't think it ever gets 100% easy. I love this kid though. He could have a good conversation about money. It comes with practice. So practice around the house. Practice saying your rate. Practice saying an obscene amount of number to yourself, to your partner, to your family, to the dog, whatever. But practice those words coming out of your mouth, and it becomes a lot easier. And it doesn't feel like you've just kind of, like I say, plucked out of thin air when you have to have a phone call and talk about it. And then if clients try to barter with you, practice statements like, it's not fair to my other clients if I drop the rate for you because you're all getting the same value. Something along those lines, where it's just making clear that they're not an exception to the rule and that you'd want to keep it as it is. As I said before, don't apologise for your rate. If someone tries to barter, advise them that you could drop the fee, but you will have to cut X, Y, Z out of the process or out of what they're going to receive as an end result. Try do it if you've got a service that can work that way. But remember, if saying yes to a client that undervalues you will close you off to saying, makes you say no to another opportunity coming in. You say yes to this person, you say no to fitting this much better client that might come along into your schedule. I've been there, done it, I've accepted a project, and then something miles better has come along the next day and I've regretted it. So sometimes it's just worth holding that space. Templates is about having some email templates ready to fire out to people, so you don't have to keep writing them. And making sure you send them within a certain time frame, so you don't sit there procrastinating, debating too long. But have a template ready for all manner of purposes, whether it's that you're going to upgrade your rates, and that you're going to decline offers, that you can't do it on this occasion, but you know someone you can pass the work on to, all of that stuff. Have something ready that you can just fire out. Remove the emotion. So I talked about this at the beginning. You can have emotion attached to your big goal, but in terms of those small transactions, and this was where the caveat comes in, don't attach emotion to that. So when you're talking about your rate with a client for a project, don't sit there thinking, oh, but this will buy me that holiday. This will buy me those shoes. This will mean my kids can go X, Y, Z. Take the emotion out of that transaction until you've done the job and you've received the money, because that helps it just become a transaction. It's not got any worth attached to it yet until you've got that money in your bank. And also, notice is just about making sure that you give your clients extra notice of when you are going to up your rate. If all else fails, I love this from Penny Brazier, I put it in my book as well. Life would be sweeter if every time I realised I drastically underquoted for a project, a matching band burst into my office and played Oops, I Did It Again, and we had a little dance. I mean, if all else fails, if something goes wrong, that's what you need to do. So I feel like that's been a whiz through, but I hope you picked up some gems there. So I am open for any questions now, if anyone would like to ask any. And I think, yeah, Jerry's coming back. So, and I will pop up my what's it. So that's got my link tree on there, which will take you to. I've got a workshop coming up next week, which is about money mindset as well. So it'll be similar to this, but it's a bit longer, and we'll have some activities. But everything is on there, from my coaching to my book to Instagram, everything else.
Thank you very much, Helen.
It's okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see if we have any questions.
Yeah, feel free. Anything, everything. Shall I
stop sharing maybe, or you can leave it actually?
Yeah. There we go. In fact, I could put my link tree in the chat as well if anyone didn't catch it.
All right, so we've got some questions here. How can you predict your client is willing to pay the amount you're about to ask?
You can. That's why, you know, I did say in the presentation, don't try and double guess your client's rate. I've done it before, and you never know where they might have just suddenly got some money from and why they've suddenly opened to a project. And it's very different with one-off projects, I think, to like ongoing retainers and things. But I think you've just got to go in with your rate, the rate you want and the rate you feel valued at. And if they then want to have a conversation about it, then do that. But don't sit there thinking, oh, like I do some work for the NHS at the moment. And I was thinking, like, I've worked for them for 2 years. And I was thinking, oh, they're not going to have any money for this, given everything that's going on with the pandemic. And actually, they came back to me with a very decent budget for a project, and basically advising me that I had charged too little on that one, and it was upped. And I could never have predicted that, but it's because they had money at the end of the financial year. So that's a great time to pop things up. But yeah, just don't try and guess. If you want to ask them if they've got a specific budget, you can, but still don't let that influence what you're going to charge. Yeah.
All right.
Try and remove them out of the equation.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
There's another one. Have you ever been left unpaid because the work that you have provided was not what the client asked for? How can we deal with this?
No, I haven't had that. I've always been paid for the work, and to be honest, it's just because I've always, delivered what was expected. I think I think what a learning curve with that is making sure you have really strong processes in place to get a really good brief up front, and also to make sure that in your contract it states exactly what you're going to produce and to when. And if they then say, oh, that's not what I wanted because it was out of scope, or it's not something that was defined in the brief and the contract, then that's their liability and they have to pay it anyway. The only time I've been left unpaid, and I'm still going back on a battle with this, is I did some work this time last year for a startup, and they took on April the 6th, knowing that their funding hadn't come through, but didn't tell us that. So we did 2 months' work. I'd even hired a subcontractor who I've had to pay, and they had no money. So I'm still in a battle with them, and I've been told nearly every week since September that it's going to happen this week, and it's still not. But that's just something that, I've had to take on and it came at a really bad time because it's when I'd just taken 2 months off to write the book. But you've just got to kind of have that backup bank of money as well, just in case a client doesn't pay. And the big learning curve for me for that is that I'm always charging 50% up front now from a client. If I don't know them, any new client that I've not worked with before has to pay 50% at least up front. Otherwise they don't get their work. I don't work for them.
Yeah, that's good practice, I would say.
Yeah.
So when you're not experienced, of course.
And this is what I say to people: learn from my experiences and from the experience of more experienced freelancers, so you don't do these things. Look at people like me who are, I'm open about the challenges I've faced in business and in employment and stuff. So feel free anytime to ask me, have you ever experienced such and such? And I'm happy to go, this is what would have been better. This is what I did wrong. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. 2 more. How to recognize if the business controls me?
Oh, yeah, good one. I think if you are not taking time off, if you are working beyond the hours you want, so I'm not talking about, you working 9 to 5 or something. As a business owner, you can work when you want. I suddenly get loads of ideas at 9 o'clock at night, so I will often work late at night, but then take some time off during the day. And that's my choice, and I'm working with my flow. So are you working with your flow, whatever that looks like? Whether it's working at structured hours, whether you want to work weekends instead of a weekday, whether you've got the time out to do the things you want to do, like the school run and look after your children and things. And also, do you feel like you're fighting a to-do list? And that is my big thing. I have numerous to-do lists running 3 businesses. They are controlling me a bit at the moment. But yeah, do you feel like you are drowning and you're feeling regular overwhelm? If you are, your business is controlling you for sure. Yeah. We get to that place where you just can't think anymore. Your brain's sludge. It's just slowed down because there's so much to think about all the time. That's definitely a point of overwhelm, and you can head to burnout, so it's really important to catch that. Yeah.
We have to take some sales training courses. Do you think that this can help?
Yeah, I think I love learning, and I learn about various things all the time. And I think it depends what kind of business you have as well. I've never had to pitch for work particularly yet. And I don't generally have to do sales, but I've managed to get my face quite well known in the industry I'm in e-learning quite quickly. So I get a lot of referrals and a lot of word of mouth and stuff. But if you are someone that is going, I work on quite big projects as well, but if you work on lots of short ones and you're regularly having to approach clients, I would say yes. So there's no harm in doing this stuff. Even if you get nothing from it, especially if it's free and someone else is paying, do it anyway. But yeah, anything that will give you confidence in dealing with areas where you feel that you struggle, give it a try. You don't know what you'll learn and what you'll pick up. Yeah. I've never done any, I should say. And like I say, I have a real thing about the sales. I'm not keen on it. but I've learned to do it in my own way. So instead of having to go out and say, I need more work or I need this, I am much more about just doing the promotion of my work and starting conversations and doing it that way, rather than having to go in and say, hire me. I don't like that. So, yeah.
All right. And I think that's the last one. Oh no, one more. Is it better to charge your clients hourly or project-based? What are the pros and cons of both?
Yeah, there's so much debate about this, and I, for 2.5 years, have charged mostly daily rate, because that worked well for my projects, because it was very difficult to know how long they were going to be, how big a module was going to be before we started it, things. And I needed to get used to getting an idea of how long things would take me. So I started off on a daily rate. However, what I realised last year was that I'm very fast at working, and I work on the full project for people, whereas most people in my industry will work on either writing, design or build. I do the full process, which also helps speed it up and save money. So what I realised was that because I was working so quick, I was getting this work done in a lot less time than someone less experienced, and I was getting less money for it. So I've gone to project rate now, and I will try and estimate how long it will take me, but what I want according to my experience level. And this is where I don't compare yourself with the people too much, because even people with my amount of experience work slower than me. So I have to try and not do myself a disservice of, well, someone else would do this in 5 days, I'll do it in 2 or 3 and I'll get paid less. That just doesn't make sense. So yeah, I'm trying to shift. I have shifted much more towards a project-based rate now. However, when you start off, I think it's a really good way of you being able to juggle multiple clients as well. If you work on a daily rate, and just be really clear about when you're scheduling them in. That was something that I was not very good at for a long time, still not occasionally. And the only time I work for hourly rates is when I still do bits of graphics, because that sometimes is just little jobs. So if someone's charging me, asking me to do a logo, I will charge them daily or a project fee. Well, project fee now. But sometimes people come to me just wanting something like the latest newsletter edition in a template I've already built, and I'll just do that on an hourly rate, because it's just, I can't charge them for a day for that. It's like half an hour's work.
Yeah, it actually probably depends on the country that your client lives in, or and that's another thing.
Yeah, and some will say they will only work on daily or hourly rates because they think they get something better for it. But in which case, like I say, up your rate. If you are a quick worker, you know, and say to them, if they quibble the rate, say it might be more than other freelancers, but I'll get the work done quicker. So actually, it might actually come out cheaper, or it will come out similar. Just explain that to them, that they're getting that added value of you working quicker as well. Yeah.
Thank you. Where you get inspired and we learn new things. Maybe where do you learn new things?
All over. I'm a big book fiend. You can probably tell from the shelves behind me. This is just 2 of the bookshelves in my house. There's quite a lot. So I love reading. It's one of the reasons why I wrote the book. It's lovely to indulge in that. I've really taken to podcasts at the moment. And my latest trick actually is listening to the audiobook while reading the print version, because it's easier to take in and process the information. And when I've told people that trick lately, they've been like, oh, never thought of this. But because you're looking at it and reading and listening, it just really embeds things, and it's a lot quicker to get through a book that way. There's one tip. And to be honest, engaging in communities. So I'm really involved with like Being Freelance and Freelance Heroes in the UK. And people posting there every week. They get involved in the Twitter chats, and you can just really pick things up from other people. And I've really built great relationships with other freelancers who are now friends. They're not competition. And I think that's a lovely thing in the freelance community, that a lot of people feel that way, that actually these people will help you. If you have a question, just post it online. On Twitter's great for that. You know, oh, client's not paid, what shall I say to them? And someone will send you an email template within minutes, you know. So really just try and build up your community and learn from each other, because like I say, learn from other people's mistakes, not your own. You know, if it stops you making the mistake of not charging up front, then it's worth it. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I think that's the last one. And also, if you want to share some like books or resources that you would like to, I don't know, mention.
Yeah, so some of the great ones for money mindset and for saying no. Excuse the language, but Fuck No by Sarah Knight. She actually has a whole series of these now, and workbooks as well. But I thought this one contributed quite heavily to the chapter on saying no in my book. She's got some really nice frameworks about, you know, how to be assertive and working out whether you're an overachiever, a people pleaser, a pushover, or a FOMOer, a fear of missing outer, and things like that. So, and it's written in such a nice conversational way. So she's great. If you are really icky about sales, Steve Morgan has written Anti-Sell, which is quite a nice short book. I think it's just on Kindle, an ebook, as far as I know. But it's really nice, just a thing to get you thinking about a few ways of getting rid of that icky feeling of sales. And Denise Duffield Thomas, I do like her book, Get Rich, Lucky Bitch. Talks about so much sense. And the other one I love is Brene Brown. I mean, I can't get enough of the woman. And her new book, Atlas of the Heart, is it's a look at all the human emotions we experience. I think there's like 86 of them, and they're all in categories. But it's really made me think about business and the way I run it and the emotions I attach to things. And so I would really recommend listening to it, actually. The book's beautifully done, so I would say that as well. But yeah, the audiobook is awesome for that. So, but yeah, anything Brené. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. So,
no worries.
That is the last one. And thank you very much for your thoughts, your expertise, and group practices that you share with us today. And I hope also it was useful for our community. If any one of you guys want to share their feedback, please feel free to send an email to our community email, community@codecontrol.io. It will be much appreciated. And I think our webinar is coming to an end. And thank you for attending. Hope you have enjoyed this. And thank you, Helen, once more time.
No, thank you for having me. Yeah, it's been great.
Wish you all a pleasant afternoon and hope that you take away some strategies to start earning the rate you deserve.
Yes, definitely.